Ever wonder how some folks just seem to nail their goals while others, well, struggle to even get going?
Right.
Today we're taking a deep dive into a classic that might just hold the key, The Magic of Thinking Big by David J Schwartz.
Oh, yeah, this one's a game changer.
It really is, and it's not just some fluffy self-help book.
Nope, not at all.
It's a
Yeah.
practical guide to understanding how our thoughts literally impact our success.
And not just in one area either. We're talking career, relationships, happiness, the whole shebang.
Exactly. Schwartz's big idea is that the size of your thinking, that determines the size of your achievements.
So, want to achieve big things. You got to start by thinking big. No way around it.
Absolutely. Makes sense,
All
right?
right.
But it's easier said than done.
It is because we've got self-doubt, fear of failure, all that holding us back.
And even, sometimes the people around us aren't exactly the most supportive.
True, true.
That's what I find so powerful about this book, though.
What's that?
It doesn't just tell you to visualize success, it gives you actual steps.
To break through those barriers, both the internal and the external.
Exactly. So you can reach your full potential.
One of the first things Schwartz dives into is the power of belief.
Makes sense.
He says, those who believe they can succeed, they're way more likely to actually figure out the how.
So belief comes first.
In a way, yeah. He tells the story about Harry, a salesman who consistently earned, get this, 5 times more than his colleagues.
Whoa, 5 times. What, was he like some sales savant?
Actually, no, average intelligence, and even took more time off.
Seriously. So what was his secret weapon?
His manager swore it was his unshakable belief in himself.
So he just believed he could do it.
And that belief, it fueled his motivation, his persistence, and made him go that extra mile.
I guess when you really believe in something, you act differently, right?
You do. It's like that belief, it sets off a chain reaction, a self-fulfilling prophecy.
You believe, so you act in ways that make it happen.
Bingo. Now, here's the flip side. Schwartz calls it excusitis, the failure disease.
Excusitis? That's catchy. What is that exactly?
Yeah. It's all those excuses we make, the ones that keep us from taking action, I'm not smart enough, not the right time, all that jazz.
Oh, I've definitely been there.
We all have, right?
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
It's like we'd rather make an excuse than risk failing, huh?
And Schwartz, he gives tons of examples. People letting little health things rule their lives. Folks thinking they're too old to chase new dreams.
Or blaming bad luck, right? Like it's some outside force holding them back.
All of that. He says these excuses, they're just a way to avoid responsibility,
And avoid actually taking action.
Successful people, they don't let excuses take root.
So how do we combat this excusitis?
Schwartz says action cures fear, and inaction just breeds more of it.
Okay, so like the more we sit around worrying, the worse it gets.
Exactly. He uses this powerful example. Navy paratrooper training. Recruits literally pushed out of planes.
To overcome their fear of heights. That's intense.
It is, but it works. By taking action, even when we're scared, we conquer that fear.
So it's facing the fear head on that diminishes it.
Think about it. When you finally tackle something you've been dreading, isn't it less scary once you're actually doing it?
Yeah, usually the buildup is way worse than the actual thing.
Right. And for those moments when fear tries to creep back in, Schwartz has this technique.
Oh, tell me. I need all the help I can get with that.
He calls it managing your memory bank.
Okay, so what does that mean?
It's like consciously saving positive thoughts, experiences, victories.
Like a mental piggy bank of good vibes.
Exactly. And then when doubt or fear hits, you withdraw those good vibes.
I like that. It's like having a mental arsenal of positivity to combat negativity.
He gives this example of Paul, a student who totally froze during an exam. Anxiety got him.
Oh man, I can relate.
By shifting his focus, remembering his past wins, reminding himself what he was capable of, Paul calmed down and aced the retake.
Wow, so we really do have the power to choose our thoughts.
We do. And speaking of choosing thoughts, let's talk language, the words we use.
Yeah, words matter.
Absolutely. Schwartz says they literally shape our thinking.
How so?
Words create mental pictures, and those pictures, they influence our actions.
So if we're constantly using negative or limiting language, we're basically painting a gloomy picture in our minds.
Precisely. Instead of seeing a problem, try framing it as a challenge.
Oh, I like that. It's like a little mental shift.
Right. Instead of an expense, think of it as an investment. Subtle changes in language can have a big impact.
Makes sense. It's about focusing on the opportunity, not the obstacle.
Schwartz illustrates this with a salesman who sold farms, but he didn't just list features.
What does he do?
He painted vivid pictures, helping buyers visualize what they could do with the land.
So instead of just saying acres and soil type, he'd talk about, like, the beautiful riding stable they could build.
Exactly. Or the picturesque tree farm they could create. He tapped into their aspirations, their desires.
Wow, that's brilliant. Using language to create those compelling mental images.
It's about engaging emotions as much as logic. And that brings us to another key aspect of thinking big, the environment.
The people and places around us.
Yes. Schwartz dedicates a whole chapter to going first class.
So he's not talking about fancy cars and stuff.
No, he's talking about surrounding yourself with positive influences, things that elevate your thinking.
Got it. So it's like curating an environment that supports your goals, right?
You got it. He says there are three types of people: those who surrender to negativity, those who partially surrender, and those who actively seek out positive influences.
I think we all want to be in that third group, right?
Yeah.
Surrounded by people who lift us up.
Absolutely. But it's also about the places you spend time, the books you read, the media you consume. Are they feeding you negativity or positivity?
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in a negativity spiral without even realizing it.
It's not just about avoiding the bad stuff, it's about actively seeking out the good stuff, connecting with inspiring people, exploring new ideas, immersing yourself in environments that fuel your growth.
I love that. It's like being proactive about creating an environment that supports your journey to thinking big.
Exactly. So we've covered believing in yourself, conquering fear through action, using empowering language, and surrounding yourself with positive influences, all key to cultivating that thinking big mindset.
This is awesome, so insightful. But we're just getting started with the magic of thinking big.
Oh, yeah, there's so much more. In part 2, we'll explore how to put these principles into action, starting with the power of attitudes.
This is going to be good. Can't wait to dive in.
We'll talk about how to cultivate enthusiasm, even for those dreaded tasks, how to make people feel truly valued, and how to harness the power of service to achieve success in all areas of life. Stay tuned.
All right, so we're back, diving deeper into the magic of thinking big. We've talked about belief, action, language, environment, all those building blocks, but now I'm really curious about this whole attitude thing.
Yeah, attitudes, they're powerful stuff.
They really are. And in the book, Schwartz talks about how they're like these mirrors.
Reflecting our inner state, broadcasting it out to the world.
So they shape how we interact with everything and everyone around us.
Exactly. And some attitudes, like enthusiasm, they're practically magnets for success.
Okay, I can see that. Enthusiastic people, they're just magnetic.
Right. You're drawn to them. You want to hear what they have to say.
Absolutely. It's contagious, their energy, it rubs off on you.
And Schwartz says this enthusiasm, it's not about being all loud and bubbly.
So it's deeper than that.
It's about truly believing in what you're doing and letting that belief shine through.
I get it. It's like a genuine passion, right? Not just putting on a show.
Exactly. He talks about this Red Cross fundraising drive, 2 teams, same goal, raise money.
Okay, but what was different?
One team leader kind of just went through the motions, focused on the dollar amount.
I bet the other leader was all fired up, huh?
You know it. Passionate about the Red Cross's mission, and it showed. Guess which team raised more?
The passionate one for sure.
Their enthusiasm, it was infectious, inspired the team and the donors.
It wasn't just about asking for money. It was about sharing that belief.
That's the thing, but what about when we're not naturally enthusiastic? Those tasks we dread.
Oh, I feel that.
Yeah.
Can we actually create enthusiasm even when we don't feel it?
That's the million-dollar question, and Schwartz, he gives some techniques.
Lay it on me.
One is to dig deeper.
Into the task itself.
He says often we lack enthusiasm because we don't really understand the thing.
So the more we learn about it, the more interesting it becomes.
Think about it. A subject you found boring in school. What if you had a teacher who brought it to life? Made it relevant.
Okay, yeah, that would change things.
It's about finding that connection, the spark.
And if that spark's just not there?
Schwartz says, life up everything about yourself.
What does that mean? Like, put on a happy face?
Kind of project that energy and enthusiasm even if you're not feeling it 100%.
So fake it till you make it.
In a way, yeah, but the cool part is by acting enthusiastic, you actually start feeling more enthusiastic.
Our minds and bodies working together, I like it.
And the last technique, focus on sharing good news. Spread that positivity.
It's like choosing to focus on the good stuff, right? Instead of dwelling on the negative.
Exactly. So even if we're not naturally gung-ho, there are ways to cultivate that enthusiasm, make it work for us.
This is great. All right, so enthusiasm, Check. What's the next attitude we need to master?
Schwartz talks about the "you are important" attitude.
Ooh, that's a good one. I think we all want to feel important, valued.
It's a basic human need, and understanding that, it's crucial for building strong relationships, achieving success.
So it's more than just being polite, right?
It's about genuinely recognizing the value each person brings.
Seeing them, hearing them, acknowledging their contributions.
Exactly. Remembering names, asking about their lives, actively listening, showing respect, no matter their position.
Because everyone deserves respect, right? The CEO and the janitor.
Sometimes the smallest gestures can make the biggest impact. I had this client, high-powered CEO, used to people being intimidated by him.
I bet. Did you treat him differently?
I just treated him like a normal person, asked about his family, hobbies. He was surprised at first.
Then what?
He opened up, shared things he rarely told anyone. It was clear he appreciated being seen as a person.
Not just a title.
Schwartz also talks about making big people feel even bigger.
Isn't that just stroking their ego?
Not really. It's about recognizing that sometimes those in authority, they actually get less genuine appreciation.
Huh. That's interesting. I guess people might assume they already have big egos.
Or be afraid to come across as, sucking up.
All right, but everyone appreciates feeling valued, no matter their status.
Exactly. So whether it's colleagues, clients, even your boss, approach each interaction with that "you are important" attitude.
It's about building those connections, that mutual respect.
Oh, I got to tell you this quick story. I was at this hotel, had dinner, the wait staff, they were amazing.
What happened?
I made a point of telling the head waiter how impressed I was, praising the whole team.
Nice. What did he say?
Later, as I was leaving, he brought me a complimentary dessert, insisted I take it.
No way. Just because you were nice.
It shows how that "you are important" attitude, it creates this ripple effect. Everyone benefits.
I love that. Okay, so we've got enthusiasm, we've got making people feel important. What's next?
The last attitude Schwartz talks about is the service-first attitude.
Service first, what does that look like?
It's about going above and beyond to meet people's needs, exceeding expectations.
You good old go the extra mile approach.
And this might sound counterintuitive, but Schwartz says adopting this attitude is a powerful way to achieve success.
I get how it leads to fulfillment, but how does it translate to actual tangible success?
He uses this example of a gas station, super busy, but the attendants, they went all out.
What, like they gave out free coffee?
Even better, they cleaned windshields, checked tire pressure, chatted with customers.
I bet people love that. It's that personal touch, right?
And even though the gas itself was the same, people were willing to wait in line just for that service.
It's about creating an experience, that sense of value.
By focusing on providing exceptional service, you build loyalty, generate positive word of mouth.
It's like that saying, people may not remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Exactly. And this applies to anything, selling products, leading teams, whatever.
It's about putting the needs of others first.
And in doing so, you create this positive cycle that ultimately benefits everyone.
This is also interconnected. Attitudes, service, success. It's fascinating.
Our inner world shapes our outer world. So by cultivating these positive attitudes, we're setting ourselves up for success.
Wow, this deep dive has been packed with insights. We've talked belief, action, language, environment, and now these powerful attitudes.
But hold on tight, because next we're going to explore how to put all this into action, starting with the action habit.
Ooh, I'm ready to get things moving.
We'll talk about conquering procrastination, turning defeats into victories, and setting clear, actionable goals to get you where you want to be.
Okay, so we've explored all these amazing concepts in the magic of thinking big, belief, action, language, attitudes. But now let's talk about putting it all into practice.
Yeah, time to get those wheels turning.
Schwartz is all about action, right?
Yeah.
He says ideas without action are basically useless.
Like seeds that never get planted.
Exactly. And he even says inaction breeds fear.
The longer you wait, the more those doubts and worries just grow and multiply.
It's like, you keep putting off a task and it just looms larger and larger in your mind.
Exactly that. Schwartz uses this great analogy of paratrooper training. Paratroopers. Okay, I'm intrigued.
He says the real fear isn't in the jump, it's in the anticipation, the waiting.
It's all the mental stuff, right? Playing out those worst case scenarios.
And it's paralyzing. So
Yeah.
what's the solution?
Jump. Just do it.
Once those paratroopers are in action, they're not focused on fear anymore. They're focused on the task.
So it's about shifting our focus from our worries to the actual doing. Think about it. Haven't you noticed? When you finally start something you've been putting off, it's not as bad as you thought.
Totally. It's always the buildup that's worse.
So how do we apply that to everyday life? We're not all jumping out of planes.
Right. What's the trick?
Schwartz calls it the mechanical way.
The mechanical way. Okay, explain.
Basically, you just do the thing, especially the things you dread, without overthinking it.
So instead of staring at that mountain of laundry and dreading it, I just start sorting.
Exactly. Don't give yourself time to talk yourself out of it.
Just dive in head first.
Once you're moving, the momentum takes over.
It's like taking that first step is the hardest part.
And this applies to bigger goals too,
So instead of focusing on writing a whole book, I should break it down into chapters.
or even pages. Smaller steps make it feel less overwhelming.
I like that. Achievable chunks.
Each little win boosts your confidence, makes the big goal seem less daunting.
Makes sense. Okay, so we're taking action, but what about when we hit a roadblock? Setbacks, failures.
Those are inevitable. But Schwartz has a really empowering perspective on that.
What's that?
He says defeat is a state of mind, not a fact.
So it's not about if we fail, it's about how we react to it.
Exactly. Successful people don't let those temporary defeats define them. They learn from them.
It's about having that resilience, bouncing back stronger.
He says try to salvage something positive from every setback.
Even in the midst of failure, there's something to learn.
Always. Maybe you discovered a new approach or identified a weakness you can work on.
So it's like those setbacks, they're not roadblocks, they're detours that can lead to something better.
And he talks about finding that balance between persistence and experimentation.
So not just banging your head against the wall if something's not working.
Right. Be willing to adjust, try new things, learn from your mistakes.
All about growth, right?
Yeah.
Always learning and evolving.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, goal setting.
Ah, yes. Got to have those goals.
Schwartz is a huge believer in the power of goals to give you direction and focus.
It's like having a roadmap. You know where you're going.
And he says write them down. Don't just keep them floating around in your head.
Putting pen to paper makes them real.
It's a commitment, a contract with yourself.
And when you write them down, they become clearer, more concrete.
Exactly. Then break those big goals down into those smaller steps we talked about.
Creating that step-by-step plan.
And finally, set deadlines.
Give yourself a timeline, a sense of urgency.
So you don't get stuck in procrastination mode.
It's about transforming those wishes and dreams into actual plans.
And as you achieve each milestone, celebrate those wins. Keep that motivation going.
This has been amazing. We've covered so much ground, belief, action, attitudes, goals. It's all connected.
It all comes back to this. Thinking big is a choice. It's about embracing possibility, cultivating those empowering attitudes, and taking action.
It's recognizing that we have the power to create the lives we want.
As Schwartz says, the important thing is not where you were or where you are, but where you want to get.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the magic of thinking big, I want you to think about this. What would your life look like if you truly embrace this way of thinking? What goals would you set? What actions would you take? The possibilities are endless, so go out there and think big.